Today we have gathered here to celebrate our journey so far, and we deeply appreciate how each one of you have nurtured the very idea of establishing a community that is dedicated entirely to art and architecture. And it is very exciting to see how Equim family has grown up to 12,000 plus active learner, over 500 plus workshop participants. And it is not just a localized movement. And I want to let you know, it's a global movement that you all have started, which is going across 20 plus countries. So now I want all of you to pat your back and congratulate yourself, because you have been a part of a very revolution that we are trying to bring in through the discipline of art and architecture. It has been wonderful journey, literally learning with you all, collaborating and innovating design. We are very excited to showcase and discuss and learn some of the creative ideas and designs and some mind-blowing concepts that you all explored in past 1 year. And I have compiled a short video that encompasses some of the best designs and the best work that from all of you. So I want you all to spot your work here. Okay, so those were some pretty crazy designs, weren't they? Let me know in the chat box. What do you feel about these designs?
Hey guys, how are you doing? It brought back so many memories, some of the coolest stuff we did in the last 1 year. What do you guys think about these designs? It's really good to see you all again today gathered here. Um, some of your works might be showcased here, some of your works might be skipped here, but we kind of try to put it all into one sort of video to kind of showcase how the last past year went, and all thanks to you guys how things went. So congratulate yourselves over that. Over to you, Divikosh.
Those of you who have participated in the workshop and actively participated in the competition must have realized that competition gave you an edge, right? It gave you a perspective how to apply these tools and when it comes to real life projects and in alignment with architecture practices. And I'm sure after the workshop, after the competition, you all must be feeling very confident with these tools and not just with the basic design skills, the new creativity, like anything that you think that weren't possible, you might be feeling that okay, these designs are possible now. Let's move forward and have a glimpse of some of the best designs that were produced. Okay, Eternal Mangekyu Sharingan. This is a project that was developed by Prakash. It was the first iteration of Parametrize in which exercise was to design self-optimized pavilion. Now, looking to Eternal Mangekyu and looking at this project, you must have got a reference of Naruto, those of you who watch anime. So let me know how many of you have got the reference here. Moving on, in Parametrize 2, we moved forward and the competition became more of a group activity where in competition group interacted with each other. There were like 6, 7 participants who communicated and collaborated with each other to come up with a design concept. And the activity was to design the school that was realized computationally. So it was developed by Divya Shah, Aishi Verma, Karan Mehta. Okay, now moving on to Dhwani. The next one is Dhwani, the tower building that has taken the form and inspired from mountains where the river originates. So it basically takes inspiration from mountains and river, how these elements amalgamate and create the design. And then we launched another set of workshops that's called AI Urbanize, in which we explored artificial intelligence, machine learning with performative architecture using parametricism. And these are some of the designs that were produced during the AI Urbanize session. Now, this is an art museum that narrates a story behind a piece. Now, in January, we have a very interesting competition where the participants were given a challenge to design an underwater structure. And here the concept explored by the participants. Here they developed design the pod which separates and attaches to the main body. So it was really an amazing design, and we were kind of blown away by how the participants came up with such a really great work. Now, and then there was another iteration of AI Urbanize in which competition exercise was to design a space and some towers in densely populated areas of India. And these are some of the results from there. How creatively a sci-fi can be integrated with architecture. And this exercise was to design the city for 2050, and it draws inspiration from Star Wars. Now, Ilam. And then finally, in the latest iteration of Parametrize, where participants explored how they can design and structure for rural urban areas, where they can relocate people living in slum into low-cost housing society. Okay, so these are some of the exciting results that our participants generated, and we are very proud to share them all across our social media platform and the website as well. Whenever we share results of any competition, we see a lot of interest from entire community across the globe. So this is what we have realized through competition. You all are bringing on some innovation and some ideas that would have been like left dormant, isn't it? So now we have Chinmay sir with us.
Thanks a lot, Divikosh. And um I mean, the entire journey has been very fascinating for me as well, where I got to interact with a lot of people, with a lot of young architects, some architects that were senior to me, probably by 5, 6 years, 8 years. Some of them had kids that were as old as me through these workshops, and it has been a very I should say a very satisfying experience for me as well, wherein I could, when a day began for a workshop, when it's day one and everyone is so confused on day one, and they are just wondering what the hell is parametric architecture? Why did I enroll for the workshop? how the hell am I gonna learn these entire things? And how, seeing everyone of each and every one of you progress through all those 4 days, 5 days, and come out at the end of it with some confidence and some projects that you develop that are quality projects that are showcaseable at different multiple places. So it has been a quite a journey for me as well. So I would like to understand from you guys, how has your journey been? I mean, some of you attended the last session of Parametrize that was like a month ago. What about you guys, and what about the guys who attended it last year? And how did anything at all change about your designing, or did most of the things change about designing? How was it? Let me know in the chat box. And so I want you all to answer this one simple question. What do you guys think creativity is? What do you think creativity is? And I want each and every one of you to answer here. We feel, or what we at Equim feel, or is that creativity is an adventure, a profound human experience. So it is said that knowledge sharing is knowledge squared. And we believe that creativity is an amalgamation of experiences and knowledge that one acquires throughout their life experience. So basically, there are neurons in your brain that develop as you learn new things as you grow old in your life, and creativity is basically those neurons that would not connect. Let's say you learned something in maths and you learned something in while eating dinner at your home when you are a kid, and when you grow old there is a connection that is established between the two neurons one was responsible for maths, other one was responsible for dinner, and there was a connection that was established, and that is how creative process unrolls itself. So now imagine if we all could share our individual experience and knowledge with like-minded people. So instead of there being one brain, there could be multiple brains, a common place where you all can collaborate, work, and share your thoughts, and start relating, start helping each other, and explore multiple realms of design, and have meaningful discussions among each other about relevant context. So basically, what this graph here is showing, that between the balance or the overlap between your ambitions, your dreams, your feeling towards liberation, everything that sets you free, and the bondage of life, the life that chains you down, that brings you down to the floor, that keeps you tied up. The overlap between the two is what creativity is. That is how you find. And this, when I say this, I'm saying this not only for architectural students or architectural professionals or artists. This is true for everyone, for people that come from engineering background or from arts background, or whatever background they come from. This is how creativity works in everyone. And now, how does a revolutionary design take place, or how does it come to existence? Some revolutionary design that changes the way we look at certain products or services forever. How does that happen? So take a minute to read the statement in the quotations, in the quotes. Artistic ideas, when faced with socioeconomic limitation, give rise to challenges. Demolishing orthodox norms with insanely ambitious ideas brings revolutionary design into fruition. And what we mean by that is, in today's world, a great design is much more than a point of attraction. It cannot be a structure that sits and is just aesthetically sane. It has to be much more than that in today's world if it has to be revolutionary. It can serve a meaningful purpose and help us to create a better world. The design itself has to make the world a better place. And it enriches us with the level of freedom that we may take for granted. You all are architects or architectural students, and you understand this, that if a space is poorly designed, it takes the freedom from the users. And if the space is designed in a way that it is lightweight, it kind of it does not intervene, rather facilitates the process of communication, that is when a design is actually a masterpiece. And we artists and designers have always been the architects of society and culture, bringing in abstract ideas which are challenged persistently. So Now it is us for us to face these challenges using art and architecture as an instrument for societal change. Do you agree with that? That we as architects and designers need to propel a movement that basically takes the design game to the next level, that brings about a change in the society. So what this slide tries to communicate is that when you're working on a project, there are these rush, basically head rush movement, where you gain insight over impractical, ardent, crazy ideas that are very ambitious in nature. And then on the other half of the brain is the practicality of the project, is the budget, is the limitations, constraints set by the type of construction available at the site, by the client and whatnot. The overlap between the two gives birth to revolutionary designs. That is how revolutionary designs come into play, that are like a balance between practicality and budget and all those limitations, as well as they keep the balance from impractical and crazy ideas that pop in our head. This is not true for architecture, this is true for every profession, every creative field, or every creative service that is there. It is true for everyone. So that is how creative process works. We are social animals, and it is our nature to collaborate, and that is how mankind has progressed throughout the history. And that is how we have gathered knowledge, that is how we have developed technology, invented things, discovered phenomena, and then used them at our advantage to move forward in life. And collaboration changes how people think, how people articulate ideas and perceive clarity about their competencies. So you would never know how good or how bad you are at something until you sit with some people that have knowledge of the similar things. And once you communicate with them, once you learn from them or collaborate with them, that is when you understand your strengths and weaknesses. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that is how we judge our creative or strengths and weaknesses? That is what we want to put forward, that is what we realize, and that is what lies at the heart of collaboration, is not only working together but also learning from one another, dividing the task and multiplying the success. So basically, we believe through Equim education is that creativity lies among students, among the fresh blood learners, and we believe that if a guided medium is provided through Equim, where there are explorations of design, or where there are explorations of crazy ideas, stupid ideas that are very ambitious, are not shot down by the guns of practicality. Rather, they are, uh, you know, um, rather they are inspected through glasses of vision, and bringing those ideas, researching over them with the participants, with the people who develop these ideas, researching over them, and then Equim Designs, that is the consultancy services that we have through which we develop architectural projects and designs, merging both of them together, where we start off with crazy ideas through Equim Education, where we do a lot of research in the center part, where there is overlap between through practical approach at Equim Designs and impractical or crazy ideas at Equim Education, and coming up with viable, tangible products out of it in collaboration with the participants. That is how we believe that this particular creative collaboration can actually change the way we perceive designs, the way things are designed in India, especially. That is how we can bring about a change in here. What do you guys think about such a creative collaboration? A community centered, we have always been in a very big favor of community, and you must have heard me say this like uh,
Mm,
uh, 100 times, that community and collaboration are the key aspects of architecture. And to make this a bit more efficient, to make this I should say very efficient, um, a community centered approach towards learning and exploring new possibilities is what we are going to go after. It offers everyone a chance to connect and share information among individuals and have common aspirations towards design. Imagine if you all could gather at one place where we not only help you to collaborate, but also help you to collaborate with each other, help each other to learn new things, and guide. And there could be architects who could guide people of how to take your crazy ideas from computer screen to the real practical world at execution. So that is what we are looking at. Now, keeping this idea in mind, we have designed a virtual campus, and this is a very exciting thing that we are announcing today. We have been working over it, and now we have designed this virtual campus that is basically on Discord for you all to take advantage from. It's a common place for you all to hang out and socialize, make friends, be informal, more like a college. That I'm sure you all must miss college now. So it would be an informal medium, but it more like a virtual campus of your own. And let me show you what I mean. This is this is what Discord looks like, and it might look a bit complicated at first, but it is very easy, trust me. So it starts off, you get a link. Thanks, Rushti. You get a link. You'll all get a link through which you can join this particular channel. And basically, there are some channels on the left that you can spot. The first one is welcome, where you can see who all have joined or who all are joining at any given point. Then there's a channel where you cannot write a message, but you can just read about the rules and regulations and what each channel does. So this is basically like a tutorial channel where you can go and understand how this works. Then there is a tab that is announcements, where we keep on announcing different things, different events that are upcoming at Equim. Then there is an exclusive, very exclusive channel that is Proficionado that will become active from today onwards. This Proficionado channel is only exclusive for the people who have attended the workshops with Equim in the past. So once you join Discord through the link that you will be provided soon, uh, we will be shifting you to Proficionado, and this group will entirely be dedicated to the workshop attendees. Here, we have had about 500 plus attendees in the past 1 year that we are trying to onboard on here in Discord. So all the 500 of you would be here. And from here, you can start collaborating and learning about each other, where you can post your doubts relating to uh, about practically anything in the world, from art to architecture to parametric architecture to vernacular. Pretty much anything that you can imagine about art or architecture, you can talk about it here. And I'm sure since we'll have people from all across the world here, so we'll have people collaborating from everywhere. And then there is a community. This particular channel is open for all. So you can see that the last parameterized session, some of you who were there in the last parameterized session, you already know how to use Discord. So last parameterized session, instead of having it on WhatsApp like we usually did, we did it entirely on WhatsApp, on Discord. So this community here will be open for all. It will be free for all. Anyone can join this community from architecture or art background, and they can practically interact with each other. This is prized possession, where you can showcase some of your works that you are very proud of, that you can see some of you have already did. And at memes, you can post some memes just to keep things alive. In promotions, you can promote yourself for certain things that you want to promote. Maybe it's a service that you want to promote. And then there are some voice channels. Basically, there is a socialize, work along, speaker zone, and music. Let me tell you about them. So socialize is, you just drop in here just like this. You can turn on your video if you want. You can, I'll just mute myself from here. And once you're connected on this Discord voice channel, you can talk to anyone who's connected here. So you can, without worrying about your identity or your privacy, you can join in on socialize, hang out, talk to people, be informal, and make friends. Then there is work along, where you can share your screen. So I can just go and share my screen. So if you want to work on something and meanwhile also teach that to certain people on the community, or just showcase that, or maybe you're working on something and you want feedback from the community, so you can share your screen here and start taking feedback in real time from the community. And there is the speaker zone, in which we will start bringing some educators frequently who will talk about certain things every week. And then there is this music channel where you can ask the bot to play your favorite songs for free. And on support you can you can type in if you have any issues or if you have certain suggestions. So this is how this Discord channel is entirely set up. And I'm quickly gonna go, I'll copy this link and I'm posting this in the chat box right now, and you guys can join in on the Discord server and make it your own. It's a virtual campus that you have to make your own. You have to kind of establish and populate, just like how you populate things or geometries on Grasshopper. This is what you have to do here.
Okay, so now let's move forward. We have a very exciting guest with us. You all must be waiting for him since you all have seen the creative, isn't it? So let's welcome Jose and Eza from Zaha Hadid Architects. Hi, Jose, how are you?
Hi, Livia Coach. Hi. Nice to meet you, finally.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. You?
I'm doing well. Great to see you. And thanks for taking out time. Our community and the students here really appreciate it. He has worked in architecture studio in New York, in London, and in Peru as well. And he studied architecture at the University of Sheffield, and later studied at Architecture Association London, where his thesis was awarded the best thesis. And after that, Jose's work was nominated for several awards and has been exhibited in United Kingdom and United States. So all of you, everyone here, I want all of you to welcome Jose. Welcome to our community.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Very glad to be here.
How are you doing, Jose? How are you doing, man?
Hi, Shinman. Bien, all good, all good. How about you?
Very well. And Sundays are usually the free days, but we believe in dedicating it back to the community here.
I'm used to it as well, so I understand. Yeah.
Okay.
So everybody is excited here, and I got a lot of questions from the community as well, from the students. They want to interact with you and want to know more about get to know much about the creativity and what is your frame of mind, how you perceive architecture, how you perceive this design field, and what your inspiration has been the architect, and which is like a dream place for a lot of the young architects. Every architect and architecture student, they have aspiration to work there. So we'd love to know about your journey so far and how's your experience been.
My experience, yes, I mean, it's an interesting one. Like, if we go a bit back, I don't know how farther back we want to go, but let's say none of my family,
as much
my
as
parents,
you want to go back, Jose. We have a lot of time.
Well, just starting, like, none of my parents or even in my family, none of them are architects, so they have related to architecture. So it's very interesting to delve into this world. Most of them were more into the business oriented kind. So yeah, it was interesting to I don't know, start with architecture in that way. But yeah, well, then let's say after high school, then I decided to study architecture, and I studied 1 year in Lima, Peru, so back home. That's where I'm from. So then I started studying there, but in a way I didn't feel very attracted to the way they were teaching. It's not that it was bad, but for me, for personal preference, I don't know, that's the way I wanted to learn about this. That was my feeling back then. I don't know if I was right or wrong. But then I decided, because in high school I did this IB diploma, the International Baccalaureate Diploma, that allowed me to apply to different places in the UK and Australia as well, now in all the kingdom. So then I applied, and thankfully I got into a few universities, and thankfully I had the support of my parents. So then I decided to just venture and just go for it. It was very difficult because I don't know how many of you have that experience, but I mean, leaving family behind, living by yourself is a bit difficult. When I was very young back then you didn't think of that. You just more care about, I don't know, the experience, the journey, and all of that. So yeah, I started there, and I did 3 years in Sheffield. It was very fine. I met a lot of very interesting people, learned about a lot of architecture, more in that university for the social part of architecture. It was not like most oriented into technology. It was more about the social part of architecture in there. And then after those 3 years, I went back home and worked there for almost a year in Lima, in the capital of Peru, and mostly residential and offices. And then after that, I got the opportunity to go to New York to work there for Carlos Zapata. It's a small studio. It was very nice. I don't know if you know him. In Venezuela, but he lived most of his life in the United States. And I mean, I got so inspired by him. It was because it was a small studio. We did, I don't know, all sorts of experimentations, like models and things. So I got so inspired by him. Then after that, I wanted to explore more about the theory side of architecture, let's say, of the idea. So then I decided to go back to London to study there at the AA. And I did the AA diploma. I don't know if that's something that you know. I think most of you know maybe the DRL. I think that's most known worldwide. But I did a diploma because I was very, very interested in the alumni behind at the AA. I mean, you know the alumni, it's like Zaha Hadid, Rem Koolhaas, Richard Rogers, Peter Cook, David Green. I mean, so many. And all of them, they actually either teach or actually learn this AA diploma. So I went to do that. And yeah, I learned so much about it, about the theory behind that they teach, the way they make you think in order to convey ideas. So that was very nice. And then after that, I stayed in London and worked in Grimshaw Architects. It was not that long. It was like 9 months, 10 months. And between that, I was actually applying to Zaha Hadid. And it takes a while because, as you may well know, it's kind of a demanded kind of application. So it's very difficult to synchronize the needs of the office or the teams to the people they actually want. So it takes some time. At least for me, it took around a year just applying. And then thankfully after the third or fourth time, then yeah, I got an interview, and yeah, I started working there, and now I've been working there for 3 years, a bit more than 3 years. So yeah, that's all the journey until now, more or less.
So there's been a remarkable journey, and we are really glad to kind of walk by your side. So you are from AA London, and you told about your experience there. So we would like to know, like, if you have to compare the study at architecture, what's the experience of Architecture Association with rest of the colleges out there? Because a lot of the students they have inspiration. That sometime in our life, we as an architect, we all want to go there and like have that same level of experience.
Sorry, it was the experience working in London?
At AA London.
So I guess what he's asking is
yeah.
how would you compare the education at AA with the other colleges that are out there that provide architectural education, since you have an experience of both. So how does AA differs?
Yes, yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, most of the UK, I find they tend to more theoretical side of architecture, but especially I think you find that more in the AA. I mean, of course, there's technical and practical aspect you have to go through because, I mean, it's part of the education of becoming an architect anyways, but the most energy that they put is into the theory part, I find, of architecture. I mean, just between like the dynamics, or at least in the diploma, that's what I mean I can speak of. It's very interesting because they force you in a way to always present. So they tend to make you work a lot in the side of communication, of communicating your ideas. So not just simply, making drawings or making models or anything like that. It's more about how do you create a narrative behind the idea you want to convey. I think that process, that dynamic, allows you to think very differently and allows you to process the information because it's a feedback, because you always have to present it in front of a jury constantly, or even your friends. You have to present it within your friends constantly. So you get feedback from the people and see things or think things differently and get to obviously improve the project, and yeah, a lot of emphasis they make this, I think, at the AA, which is makes it a bit different from the rest. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
So research-oriented approach is what basically differs. I mean, if I had to put it in a nutshell, the research-oriented approach is what AA adapts to and kind of prophesizes on that.
Yes, I think that's what I felt at that time. I still feel it's part of it. Of course, it's the school, it changes because of the new directors, new anything. They have different approaches. So maybe another thing to understand is like a good thing if you're starting your journey in architecture, if that's the case, it's good to maybe try different universities, because each university has a different approach in how to teach architecture. So, for example, in my case, when I was back home, they were very technical, very like they make you understand how to build in a way, but they don't emphasize that much in a way to think of what you are making, what for. And then there's a lot of discussion. It can be completely functional. I mean, we can talk about this maybe deeply later, but it can be more functional, or it can be aesthetics. It can be both. It can be just one. I mean, there's different situations, different contexts, different relations you have to think of. And if you are learning architecture, it's good to test different sides of architecture and different mindsets in different schools. Yeah.
So, Jose, were you always interested in computation? And if yes, then how did you start like designing computationally, like computational design?
Yes. Computation. Well, I think nowadays it's a necessity, right? I mean, it is born out of necessity. Now you want to produce big scale, small scale. The amount of production is like so much in any case that you actually are forced to, out of necessity, to learn computation in a way. So just in the practical manner, for example, day to day, what I do is develop different types of scripts within Maya, within Rhino, that actually helps me produce faster. And the aim of this, because we need to produce, right, for the client and everything, but the aim of this, I think my approach is creating all these tools using computation so I can have more time to create. So I don't have to spend like one day of, I don't know, translating something into another software or something like this. So creating these tools allows me far more freedom to actually give me time to create and test different ideas, and much faster. And then computation, I think mentally it helps as well, because the thing is, we have, as humans, we have limitation of what we can actually achieve. Having computations allows us to think much better, because I mean, humans have these things of the memory, right? Our memory is so fragile, whereas computers, they don't. And we operate, let's say, as a CPU, and what computers can do, they can operate parallelly. So if we can operate parallelly, then we can solve so many issues within that, right? So for example, if we say urban planning, there is always the problem, and there is a philosophical problem, I don't know for how many centuries, and still we have, about the individual and the community, something that I think you're doing here. You're acting as a community, but there's always a part of the individual you want to highlight. And that's the difficult part. In going back to the example that I was saying about urban planning, when we design or do a master plan, normally we do it in a very general manner. We have a solution for the mass. It's a general solution. There's no individual there. But I don't think it should be there. Everyone has their own individual things, individual pursuits that they want to do. And we cannot operate like this now. But I think if we incorporate computation in that, I think we can operate parallelly and satisfy all of these. No? I
Very
think that's,
nicely
yeah.
put together, Jose, where we start understanding that architecture is just not about one person or one family. Rather, it is more of a thing that sits there and impacts life of multiple people. So it has to be analyzed and judged from multiple different viewpoints or perspectives. B-
Yeah.
Uh, so, did you learn computation tools back when you were in Peru, or when you joined A, that's when you started, learning? How did
Mm,
you get exposed to it?
yeah, it's definitely in school and starting off with YouTube channels. It was something very new back then still. That people were, I think the first thing that I tried was in Sheffield, and it was with processing. They were doing something with structures, I remember, but it was, I mean, so difficult. Like just learning computing language is very difficult.
Mm,
And well, very, it depends on the language. But I think that was the first way that I started using computation. And then because yeah, YouTube channels started appearing, then I started watching. I think most of you probably they're doing that all the time, watching YouTube channels of someone, uh, or even research that you can find from people that just write
publish
some
it online.
papers.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, that's how I started more or less.
It's great to know, and it's quite uh, most of the people will relate here. Grasshopper being a visual scripting language, and you started off with processing, so that was a. And did you have like a computational background where you did it in your high school? You learned C++ or Java or something in your high school. Was there a link, or it was a completely fresh slate?
No, it was completely fresh. I mean, yeah, once I like later on when I started reading about, I'm sure it's not the only university, but MIT was doing a lot of them back then, no, in the 70s or 60s in architecture. They were already from the beginning starting to learn like computing language. And I wish I had that kind of foundation. It would be great, but no, I completely didn't. And then after that, of the processing, well, testing processing, then I just completely dedicated into Python, and now learning slowly a bit of C++. But once you learn something, the good thing is a lot of things can be easily translated.
So that's really grateful insight, and a lot of the architects, they struggle with the same problem. They are not from the computational background, they are not from the coding background. So this is what they face in the starting when they are starting their journey into the computational architecture.
Yeah.
So let's have a fun here. Let's have a speed jam. So I'm going to
Okay.
ask some of the questions here, and you have to just speak in, like, you have to give your one word answer. Okay. So are you excited
Okay.
about it?
Sounds yeah, fun.
Yeah. So your five favorite architects.
Sorry?
Five favorite architects.
Five favorites. Always Frederick Kiesler, Austrian architect, well, Austrian American if you want. Renzo Piano, Zaha Hadid, Bernard Stumi, and well, the studio Kup Himmelblau. I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
What was the last one?
Kup Himmelblau. He's from Wolf Dieprich. He's Austrian as well.
Okay.
Top four must-learn tools in software. What do you think?
For an architect.
For an architect.
Yeah.
That's tough.
In 2021, let me put another parameter here. In
2021. Architect. I think still any modeling software. So for me, it's Maya Rhino. That's one. And then Grasshopper, Revit for Beam. Beam is very important. And then Python for me language. That's the best.
Three favorite buildings.
The Shrine of the Book, that's by Kiesler. And then the Dongdam Design Plaza, that's by Zaha in Korea, Seoul. And then the Shard, which is the Renzo Piano one here in London.
Definitely, those are marvels. So, any renowned building that you dislike?
Not really, no. I mean, as long as they are fulfilling some sort of function, I mean, was not there to like.
That's a very diplomatic answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So application-based or research-based architecture?
Oof, I'll say both.
Amalgamation of both.
Sorry?
Amalgamation of both.
Both, I'll say both, yeah.
Okay. So are you soloist or collaborative?
I mean, yeah, both.
Okay. So we all here, we are really fascinated by your journey and the way you have kind of put up these new points here, that how a person can pursue architecture, whether he is from the different background, whether he is not very much interested towards the architecture from the very beginning, because a lot of people think that, okay, it is something that we get exposed to through our family or through our friends, but definitely inspiration can come from anywhere, by looking at the building, by traveling as well. So after that, we want to know what it's like to work at Zahadi. What is their work culture like?
Well, of course, nowadays it's a bit different, no, because of the current situation. So working from home is like very new for everyone. So that has changed a lot. But before that, before this, I did work in the office, like normal office, for almost 2 years. And I'll say, I mean, day to day is very horizontal, let's say. I mean, doesn't matter like what position your colleagues are. I mean, you can talk very easily, and the feedback loop, I think, is very good. And the good thing that I found compared to other offices is that most of the people that they hire or that they are in the office that I've seen, they know a bit of everything. So it's great because in that sense, they know the workload demands. So if they're gonna demand you something, they already know more or less how time is gonna take. So that's great, because I've worked in other places that you have very like vertical hierarchy, and they actually don't know how to use these softwares and how much time they take to produce something. So in that case, I mean, it's not great, for this kind of work life. But if everyone is almost in the same page, then I think it's great. This is a good dynamic that I found.
So is it a very
Yeah.
formal sort of culture there, or is it very informal? How is it? I mean, give us some spice here.
It's a bit it's a bit of everything. There's the formal side, which is sometimes the annoying part, because it's tend to make for everyone. And then the informal side, I don't know, I mean, there's always drinks on the weekends that you can find. I mean, if you finish a competition, if you finish a project or a submission of any sort, then you go for drinks, you have fun. I mean, everyone seems very nice so far in my experience. So I don't know what other things I can say.
And how does generally a project go through from concept to execution part at Zahadi? What is their approach?
What all stages does a typical project see? And I know it differs from every project to project, but if you could give us like a typical breakdown.
I think yes, because we operate in different countries, they all have the different ways to actually tackle how to build. I think generally what I can say is that Saha is always the main designer, so that's what we focus the most of the time, the design. So we tend to focus a lot of the time in the concept and in the design side of it. So a lot of the chunk of the time is between the concept and the schematic design, which is a bit more detailed in the project. And then after that, we tend to, because we're working internationally, we tend to contact local architects, which they will help us to make that thing get built, right? So the decision and the developed design that goes further, and the technical design that goes with it, then we tend to be that type of companies that we have charge of the design. So we need to go through a lot of the time invested on that. Even in a very, very technical design, we get to have the authority over it. And then because it's Saha, then you have yeah, that authority to do in the stage of design. But I mean, it's mostly the same as every country. Every country has the concept, then you go a bit further in the schematic, and then the develop design, which is get to the planning applications, and then the technical design, and then the construction, and at the end you just hand over the project. And some countries are implementing a feedback loop, whereas the client is going to give you more feedback so you can actually improve the building while people are living in it. So that's a new kind of technical specification. For example, now I know in the UK, now in the Riva, they do that. So that's an interesting site as well.
So where you build a tower, people have it at it and give a feedback, and then once you move forward in that project, you start, altering the design based on the feedback received. Is that?
That's the idea. Yes, that I don't know if it's actually working, but that's yeah, nice approach. Yes.
Okay, so how do you find a balance between a computational designer and an architect? So let's say a project
Mhm.
lands. So at what stage would you sit in front of the screen to actually open up Maya or Grasshopper, or is it like does it come in the first initial set of days, or is it just sketching at Zaha? How does it go?
Oh, yeah. Again, it's very particular. It depends. But because normally in a project there are a number of designers or a limit, I don't know, let's say maximum 3 to 4. So all of them have different approaches. I've seen people like they actually do models first, but no, not like virtual. They actually do like physical models in their desks. So that's one approach. Is a very interesting approach. The other people they already start straight away from 3D. Other people tend to sketch more and then do the 3D.
Hmm.
So I mean, yeah, there is different approaches.
Nothing is defined.
Um,
It's unique to everyone.
yeah, it is very unique. But then because the office is divided in different clusters, some of them they tend to follow a certain way to make because in this type of office you have to produce fast. So in terms of producing fast, then you normally take the path that is the easiest for you.
That is trial and tested.
Yes, yes, yes. But computation, I think, is part. I mean, I use it every day almost for building tools and even like producing different type of outcomes of the design that I couldn't like foresee before. No, of course.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So we have a question from Shruti. How's the client designer interaction at Zahadi during the design process? Okay, so she's basically asking how a client and designer they interact at Zahadi during design process.
Um, yes. Mm, I mean, they're very difficult clients sometimes. It depends on the country so far that I've seen. The interaction, well, now, of course, is very virtually. Before, it was a lot of physical kind of meetings that we do. And with the client, I mean, we show everything that we can on that day. Yes, now that I'm remembering those meetings, the day before the meeting is a bit crazy because we have to produce as much as we can so we can portray the idea that we want. So then when they come to the office, we like showcase everything that we've done, all the options, and then the client will be kind of leaning towards one or two, and then after, or even three, and then after that, we tend to like explore more those three options, or that at least the expression of those options, so we can continue producing more along those paths. Some clients they have really no clue what they want, but and then that's in a way is better because we already have our direction that we want to follow. So then we have more like an internal discussion of what we actually want to do. So in that case, we're our own clients in a way. So I think some cases is good, some cases bad, depends on the team. Some people agree, some don't. I mean, the dynamics of working with people. So, but yeah, I think.
How's procrastination there? I mean,
Ooh.
it has been like quite a pain here here at our office and multiple offices that I've been talking to, that most of the work done is a day or two before clients meet. So is that true at Zaha as well?
I think think no. I think procrastination. I don't think. I mean, we're working. I mean, for everyone, I'm working more hard than before. The problem is that since we cannot disconnect anymore, they make us produce more. So in a way, I mean, it's enough to have, let's say, 3 models to show. But because in a way they want to show more, then we have to produce, I don't know, 7 if they want. So yeah, I think the problem now is that we have a bit more time and they try to exploit that in a way. So I think, we don't have any problems with that so far that I've seen.
That's great.
Well,
So now, in recent year, we have seen a rise in technology and the computational power. So, and it's specifically a growth in machine learning and artificial intelligence as well. So, taking these parameters in mind, what do you think? What is the future of architecture looks like now?
I mean that's a heavy question. I mean, so many things that we can just foresee, but I think I'm trying to think very positively. So I think it's a good thing. And like I was mentioning before, all of these are tools so far. So in that aspect of just the tool, I think this is going to be great. It's going to give us more freedom to create. So we don't have to spend the dynamics of translating things, which is something that everyone that is working in an office have to deal with. And it takes time. Nothing is sometimes perfect. So that's just pain just to do. So I think taking that side of developing just tools is going to be the best because we're going to have more time. Now, if we're going to talk about AI, then that's a different discussion. I think if you have access to this book, I always follow it and I always recommend it to everyone. It's The Architecture Machine by Nicolás Negroponte, which was, if I'm not mistaken, one of the founders of the MIT Media Lab. But I mean, if he was not one, I mean, he was involved for sure. And he has this book, I always tend to go to it, and he talks so much about these things and this is if I'm not mistaken, the 70s or 60s, maybe the book. So he was already foreseeing all of these things. And what he was mainly, I think, focusing, what I've been reading so far, is that we need a way to communicate with the machine. I think that's a very important thing that we need to do in the future. So if we gonna work collaboratively with the machine, we need to find a way to communicate. So that I think that will be the most interesting part for architects, because if we're gonna design with machines, we need to be in the same page. And it's difficult because if you imagine nowadays, just between humans, it's so difficult to communicate. How are we gonna teach then the machine to do it better? I mean, part of the machine they have to learn, but I don't know. There's a lot of discussions within that. But yeah, thinking positively, I think it's a good thing for architecture and our creative side, so we can explore more things.
There was a very popular myth once. There was this plugin in Grasshopper that basically generated some floor plans. So there was a huge myth that went viral that soon AI is gonna make architects obsolete, where architects would be jobless because AI would be doing the planning. So that is definitely not happening anytime soon.
No, I don't think so, because you can ask the machine itself, and the machine is going to replicate the same issues that we have, then the answer is going to be kind of the same. Like architecture, we can talk about, let's say, like what do we need architects for? Like if you are thinking the building is going to fulfill a function, I can pretty much tell you, like, an engineer is going to be best for telling me how to live efficiently, let's say with the best climate, and they have the knowledge to do it, right? So if architecture is just function, then you don't need architects, right? So architects should be doing something more. So what is that more? Some people say, oh, it's just aesthetics. I don't think it's just aesthetics. It depends on how you want to, like, encompass what architecture is. So in that case of that example, I always think, like, I mean, this is just, I don't know, it's simply a tool. That's all it is.
Okay. So now, Jose, you told us that when you were going through YouTube and some platform, you got introduced to computational architecture, computational design. Right. So now, currently in 2021, we have seen this rise of overload of information, especially on the internet. There is information overload. So, what advice would you give to a student or to an architect who is pushing towards the field of computational design or architect who wants to learn things from the internet? What is the right approach? What do you think would be better?
I think you maybe not gonna like the answer, but I mean, if you're just starting, I don't think it's the right approach to get it straight away into learning these softwares or things. I think you need to learn first like the basics, you know, like learn to draw very well, like paint very well, sculpt any type of art that you have at hand. I think those kind of tools you have to learn best, because nowadays if I see someone, I can completely sell just by an image or by a design if he has any background on designing anything like by hand, let's say, you know, or having these traditional kind of tools, because the communication, you know, no, like by the mind of actually drawing is far better than you have the tools on the computer. No? It's a different approach. So I think learning this best, that's the first part. And then if you are more advanced and you're in a position that you're working or starting to work or studying, and then you have, yeah, like you said, like so many options, even for me, it's crazy. I think maybe the right approach, for me at least, is just to stick with a couple of them. For example, for me, I always stay with Maya, Rhino, Grasshopper, and then I have well, some renderings, which I now use Redshift, and that's it. And then, well, Photoshop, no, for post production, but that's it. I tend to like just focus on those, learn it as much as I can, and then further on the line, because they're building like new softwares every day, or improving them, you're gonna see like they're very similar. So it's not very difficult to change one to another. I mean, maybe 1 year back I started to learn a bit of Blender, because it was becoming very popular because of the latest version, and it's pretty much the same as Maya in a way. I mean, there's very few things you can accommodate yourself. So if you already learn so much about the software, it's very easy to transition to another. So I think in staying to a couple, learn them very well, I think it will give you a lot of advantages for the next. Same with computing language. I mean, I've learned a lot of Python. I'm still not, I would say, advanced, but I'm pretty good at it. And then I'm learning a bit of C++. I can see a lot of similarities. So it's not difficult to translate one to another if you already know something very well, no, the core, let's say. So learning those core, just pick some of them. No? Cinema 4D as well for modeling is very good. So transitioning from Maya to there, I mean, it's not that difficult. So I think learning core softwares will help you a lot, I think.
Well, definitely keep, I mean, mastering the skill at hand is the first thing that you need to do, and that becomes much more transparent because it is very difficult to communicate with the machine and uh, b- sometimes you want to do certain things that would just been very easy to communicate through hands, and when you are working with machine, it becomes a frustrating experience, and eventually you end up giving up on that idea just because you don't know how to do it on a machine.
Exactly,
So
yes.
it is exactly, it is very essential to develop the skills at hand as well.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah, go on.
no, I was gonna say like
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
because I tried, for example, Maya is very easy for me. So in a way, it almost feels like I'm drawing with a pencil or sculpting with just clay, because I've done it so much. Then I know the software in that way that I can do it very easily. So that's a plus once you know a chord. Yeah.
Okay, that's really good to know. And since everyone here, a lot of the architects and architecture students, they have this inspiration. Okay, someday we want to work at Zahadi, the architects. We want to work along with them as well. So, what are the key things that Zahadi, the architects, look for and fresh designer or upcoming artist?
Yes, well, that applies almost, I think, to all. I think as architects, the only thing we can show is our portfolio. So you have to spend a lot of time in the portfolio. I mean, have like 2 or 3 different ones and try to see which one fits best to the company. Now, I remember like when applying for jobs, I always have a different portfolio for a different company because they all want to see things differently. At Zach, at least, I remember they want to see a lot, just just in terms of the portfolio, they wanted to see a lot, let's say, modeling. No? They want to see your versatility in modeling, how complex and how simple. So both, no, how simple and how complex you can make things, and as well how can you communicate in presentation, not like the image quality, no, in terms of simplicity, like the way you use light, for example, just to show a simple volume, or something very complex if you want to go like very descriptive or parametric into the model itself, like how detailed you can get, like to what certainty. So they more or less can see just in 2 images, they can see exactly very fast what you're capable of. And then another thing that is very true nowadays is like, it's not enough, like in, at least for offices, it's not enough to be a hard worker. I mean, having the talent is not enough. So another thing you have to show, I think, in offices in general, is your communication skills. So once you get the interview, like practice a lot, because once you get those communication skills, they're gonna be able to see if you can work in a group, you know, part of, because it's an office, you have to collaborate with anyone, so you have to be part of a team. So that's what they try to see as well in the interview, how well you can respond to certain questions. If you don't know the answer, then there's a way as well to respond to it. And that helps a lot because they know how you operate in work, right? If something you cannot do, then they more or less can tell if you are capable to work in a group or not. So I think those 2 things, the portfolio and the communication aspects. And of course, at the end, patience. You have to have a lot of patience.
Definitely.
Well, the architectural college does a good job in at least building that attribute in everyone.
That's good. That's good.
So you talked about working in the group, and that's where I'm coming to that. What do you think about the community-centric approach and this collaborative approach towards architecture?
Yes, I think generally, I think it's amazing. I mean, a lot of spaces, like I was telling Shinmai before, I can see a lot of communities emerging from this current situation that we're living in. And I mean, it's great to see the side of sharing knowledge. Now, because not all of us has the same opportunities. We have different kind of contexts and backgrounds, and not all of us have the opportunity to study in different places or known places, if you want. So these communities allow you to have a bit of taste of all of this kind of knowledge, and then you can test it yourself. I think that's the best thing you can do now, is become your own expert in a way. So you are able, I mean, I've seen a lot of people even more capable from outside the office sometimes. And this is because, I mean, you learn yourself, no? So and having these communities allows you to have all of these resources at hand. I mean, like you were saying, you have all of these softwares, and some companies, for example, Autodesk, were giving it for free, and well, they give it for free for students, right? So I mean, imagine having all of that arsenal of tools to actually test, and those are just tools. Imagine like community that actually want to share ideas or projects. Now, if you want to review, I don't know, if you invite someone from here and then explain their portfolio, we can all have a chip in on what he can improve. So things like this helps a lot, and I'm so happy that you're making this. A lot of people are making this, and I hope there are more. And of course, obviously, I don't know what is going to be the future of it, is because it's very difficult just to always be, like I was saying before. There's the individual and the community, so it's always a tough discussion with those 2.
Great. So now we have students with us as well, the committee. So they are all excited, and I would like to invite you all to post your questions in the chat box.
Yeah,
Whatever.
without taking a lot of time, we have like last 5 minutes. We won't be taking a lot of time of yours,
Yeah,
Jose.
No, no problem.
So guys, if you have some questions, start posting them in the chat box.
okay, so we have
There is
one.
yeah. Go on,
Yeah,
Devakosh.
there's one, Shushti asked, what are your favorite plugins in Grasshopper?
Oh, well, Butterfish is always the best for modeling. I think is very nice. I use it quite a lot. Then what is this? Human for displays is very nice. What else? Well, Millipede is very cool if you want to do now the different structural kind of approaches to design. It's very nice to experiment with that. What others do I use? I think that's it. That's the most that I use that I like a lot. Maybe I'm forgetting, but I can write it out maybe.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, guys? Okay.
Pranava asked, can you give a resume or portfolio advice for architecture students?
For a student, yes, like I was saying before, maybe first test it with a lot of people. So even like any of your parents or any of your families around, try to explain to them, like imagine it was like an interview. So try to do it with them, practice a lot. Yeah, I think that's the best thing. Practice a lot with a lot of people. How to you want to sell yourself with a portfolio if you have the chance. If it's just a portfolio that you are submitting, then actually go to the office website and try to see what they actually produce in terms of presentation. Some of them they have their graphics kind of made public, so that's a good way to see how or what an office likes in terms of representation. So for example, I don't know, if an office likes a lot of drawings, you can see a lot of drawings in their website that they advertise. That means they like the drawing. So then your portfolio have to be tailored in a way that you only shows the drawings because you show that you can produce something they like. And then at the end, you can show maybe another of your skills, so you can show you're versatile. Yeah, I think that's.
So basically tailoring the appearance of the portfolio as per what company has actually put out as their work. So if a company is into vernacular architecture, so if you can showcase some of your work that incorporates that, then your chances of getting selected would improve.
Yes, that for sure that would improve a lot. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, so I understand we have one question. So we are just taking this last one. How is it different from studying in your own country and an abroad one?
Yes. Yeah, it's very different. It's very different because it depends, right? Because it's almost like the country itself has a necessity of making something. In in the case, for example, of back home, the necessity is to build. So they actually all of the programs in the university they tend to teach it that way. Maybe in your country is the same. That's the necessity in the country, so that's why the discipline of architecture have to follow that necessity. So they have to train people to actually build and build good things. No, that's part of the education. Whereas here, for example, in London, well, in the UK, what I've seen is a lot of things because it's a first class country, and then most of the things are already built and built in a good way, things that we can learn from it. So that takes aside that necessity of building and actually makes you have the time to actually think of what you're building. So what can you do next? So that's almost like part of the country. I'll say that's the difference. Like the necessity of the country kind of reflects of what they actually teach in the country. Well, most of the times, not all, but in most cases.
That's a really enriching thought that you have just put out, and definitely traveling and going into the different country and working with a working in a different environment and in different collaborative medium gives you much more exposure, and it kind of enhances your creativity as well. So thanks a lot, Jose, for coming to this program, and we really appreciate that you took out time from your busy schedule. We understand how difficult it is for you to also take out time and during this uh,
Uh,
overall situation. So, Chinmay sir,
and
do you
as
have
you
any?
explained today that if there are three options that are ready, a fourth option needs to be ready before the meet. So we can understand it kind of is very hectic at your end as well. So thanks a lot, Jose, for the time.
No, thank you so much for the invitation. It's really a pleasure. And obviously, any questions that anyone have, you can give them my email if you want to ask. I mean, I don't mind at all. So feel free to do it.
Okay, so guys, Jose is on Instagram at I'll post the username in the chat box, so you guys can follow him, and if you have some questions, you can. Is it okay if they reach
Yeah,
out to you on Instagram?
perfect. And I'm sorry it's not really 100% updated to my current work, but yes, of course they can, yeah, reach me there.
Great. So you guys can reach Jose out on his Insta handle, and if you have some questions, you can ask him there. But uh, make sure you don't ask very generic questions and irritate him.
No, I
Okay.
understand there are different levels. Yeah, I completely understand.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Jose. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Bye. Have a good day.
You too. Bye
Have
bye.
a great weekend.
Okay. So that was Jose from Zaha, and it was very exciting to see how and understand how at different parts in the globe, similar people who have similar interests, especially when we talk about architects and architectural students, we have a certain similar interest, and we have, irrespective of what country we are sitting in, we have quite similar problems. And I don't know about you, I'm sure you must be relating with it, but I could relate myself with Jose a lot while he was explaining how his education went back in Peru, and how instead of uh, a creativity building university, it was more of a what should I how should I put it, an employee building community university that is basically, transferring the mindset of how you can get most of the things built and done very quickly, how you can move into construction. But the most important thing that is to be taken up in the colleges is how to think differently, how to be different than others, which is which seems to be lacking from most of the universities in India and in abroad, as evident today. So I hope it was a learning medium, or you guys kind of took some value out of it from the things that Jose said. What do you guys feel about it? Let us know in the chat box. Okay, so yep. I have an announcement today. Um, it is a very important announcement. So I hope you liked the session today, and I hope you liked how Jose took up Jose from one of the most esteemed architectural firms that is out there, that is Zaha Hadid Architects, came and shared his vision, his insights, and some inside stories from Zaha, and how Zaha Hadid architects approach a certain project, and how they do things. So what we are planning is this is the first time that we are bringing it out in public, and it is especially for you all. That is for it is right now exclusive for uh, just the workshop attendees or the alumni of Equim. So we have planned a conference that is more of a mother of all parametric architecture workshops, because a lot of time it happens that you do not know why you have learned a tool, or you do not know whether you should learn a certain tool or not. It is just that your peers are learning it, you see it all across the internet. That is your driving factor, and honestly that should not be anyone's driving factor. So this particular conference will have mentors like Dr. Costas, who is a PhD doctorate in UCL Bartlett London, and he teaches computational design in Bartlett London. And we'll have James D'Alessandro, who is co-founder and director of Emergent Studio. He has invented and developed multiple Grasshopper plugins that are available for use for the public. Then we'll have Jose from Zaha Hadid Architects. We will have Paride Stella from Italy. He is a computational designer who has been working and collaborating with Arturo Tedeschi, who is called the father of parametric architecture, in a way, father of modern parametric architecture. So, and then we'll have Aman Agrawal from Spain, who's co-founder of Academy, studied from ISC Barcelona. So it's a huge panel, and we would take up things like uh, first of all, we would try to tackle things like what is the impact of digital in architecture? How is digital media, social media, and all these things impacting architecture and architectural practices? If you are a young architect, how you should approach social media to gain some business from it, and then it would be a 21-hour long session with all the names that I just took. They would be, instead of talking about tools, they would actually be exploring tools with you. So there would be talk from everyone, their insights about their experience, how they're using it, and there it would be a quick hands-on experience on those tools as well. So we would be having tools like Rhino, Grasshopper, Maya, Cinema 4D, ZBrush, all into one mix. So you step into that conference, you walk out having knowledge of all the different methodologies that are available out there, and how product designers, industrial designers, architects, doctors, they are using these tools, and then choose and decide what is the best medium you like and what is it that aligns with your methodology before learning it further.
Connecting with like-minded people, interacting with each other. So on Discord channel, there will be a lot of interaction that's going to happen. We are onboarding a lot of tutors and designers as well from the different backgrounds. Shrishti asked, sir, I guess this is a question for you. What is the scope of parametric architecture in India?
This is a good question, and I have answered this quite a lot of time. So, parametric architecture, people have a misconception that parametric architecture is bound by certain material or a certain way of designing or a certain way of structures. It is not that at all. You could pretty much design models of any scale, a small bench, a small wall, an elevation of the house. So it is entirely up to you. Basically, the thing is, when Instagram or when Facebook became popular, it did not become popular in India. And why was that? Because we are very slow to adapt to technologies. Our fathers did not want to use Facebook. It was us who taught them Facebook. So similarly, people who are investing 1 crore, 2 crore, tens of crores of rupees in real estate or in construction, they are obviously not from this generation. They are not below 30. They are over, usually they are over 35 years of age. So they are not very well versed with the technology. That is what I'm trying to convey here. So it is your job to convince them. So start convincing them, start giving them some things for free, start designing certain small activities in their houses that are parametrically evolved. Give them a little taste, and then the next client that you'll have, you can showcase them, okay, in this particular project I did this, I can do 10 times this, that is that you see here in this image, that is a conceptual image in your project. Then that the next client would give you an opportunity to expand your scale, and the next one would give you the opportunity to expand the scale further, and that is how this particular process works. It will never happen that a client will come up to you and say, hey, design the entire building that design my entire site parametrically. I want a twisted looking structure here. Never will that happen. It is entirely up to you how you want to push it. I hope that answers the question, Srushti. Divikosh, over to you.
Yeah, it has been wonderful throughout this today's session, sir, and talking to Jose and talking to our alumni as well. Now you all have graduated from WhatsApp to the Discord, and officially you all are graduated.
Every time you develop a project, every time you're developing, let's say, a plan, let's say an elevation or a college project or a thesis, you know where to take the feedback from, even when it is 1 a.m. in the night. You don't have to, ping your friends from college who might, copy the ideas. You always have a place that is entirely dedicated to architecture and art. That is what this Discord channel or community will offer you, where you can directly take feedback and ask for help as well. If you are
Definitely.
I mean, generally ask for help with manners where people can help you evolve your designs further. Maybe you're weak at rendering, you can ask someone to teach you that. And that is why these work along and all these voice channels are for. And once we have enough people active on these voice channels, and once you guys start exploring it, we would start adding some new channels that would be specific to certain purpose. So we would maybe have in the future, once we have enough population here, we would maybe have a channel just dedicated to construction, another channel that is just dedicated to learning some tool, another channel that is just dedicated to learning drawing. So that is how this will grow. And obviously all of your feedbacks can flow in the support help desk channel here. That would help us evolve it further. And again, this is has this entire Equim education medium is created by students, is for the students, and will be taken forward by the students. So it is a student first platform. That is what we want you guys to explore. Okay, so it was really great seeing you all. And yeah, we'll stay connected on Discord, and sooner in this week I'll be live. We'll post it on the announcement channel, and I'll be live on Discord, and we'll talk about millipede and structural analysis based form finding. With that said, it was lovely connecting with you all today again. And now let's keep the community on Discord alive, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.